Hey guys, this is Cassandra Carson from Paralandra, and this is We Go to 11.
Friendly is good. Radio Amor.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Thanks so much for your time. I know my friend who puts these videos together had reached out and we finally were able to connect. I guess you guys are pretty busy.
Yeah, we like to stay busy, that's for sure.
So you have new music coming out. I'm kind of confused because I know even on Amazon, they have I think April 4th is the release date. Is it the 4th or the 5th? I don't know. Maybe you
It's the
guys
4th.
the
It is
4th.
on Thursday.
Okay.
And it's intentional because 4/4/24, we wanted it to
Okay.
be easy to remember. Yeah, so
Nice.
it is the
Okay.
4th.
So it is the 4th, and tell us about the new record because it's you got 3 tunes already available for people to check out on streaming on Amazon, and the reason I know that is because I'm an Amazon Music subscriber. So tell us a little bit about the record.
Yeah, so the Body Electric features songs from the entire decade that Paralandra has existed, which is kind of crazy. So it's got songs that are almost 10 years old. It's got songs that are maybe 5 years old. It's got songs that we wrote right before we went into the studio. But I really feel like it is just a cool collection of
Mhm.
Paralandra. And for those that do know, or those that don't, our
Mhm.
songs are all, from personal experiences. And if anybody has ever heard of the Body Electric poem by Walt Whitman,
Ah,
it just
okay.
talks about, how humanity is kind of just a miracle in itself and how amazing we are as humans and how we're all connected, not only physically, but like we're made of electricity and like, we're all the same underneath our skin. And that's really the same message that Paralandra likes to, bring forth in our music is just inclusion and love. And, so I feel like it all kind of was coming together in this perfect, I don't know, I guess
Yeah.
just time and space lined up,
Right.
for us, I guess.
So,
And it
so
was all able to come together.
I was going to ask. I mean, why go this direction? I mean, I kind of get it because, like you said, it's kind of like a retrospective in a sense of some of the material that's been out there for a bit. But so what influenced or what inspired this move as far as recording and putting together this kind of a album?
So we did we did Street Magic with Elvis
Hmm.
Baskette back in
Hmm.
21. And it was just an awesome experience. We absolutely loved it. And we had so many songs that we wanted to record, but we only had room for 8. So we felt like we needed to get back into the studio after Street Magic because it was like we had some unfinished business.
Hmm.
And obviously we were going to do another record anyways and wanted
Right.
to work with Elvis again. So we pretty much just went ahead and got more studio time on the books as soon as we released Street Magic and we started working towards releasing the Body Electric and figuring out what songs were going to go on that album and, using songs that we wanted to put on Street Magic, but just didn't have room for.
Right.
So yeah.
So, in working with him, I mean, what was the experience? And obviously great, but what makes him the go-to for this particular record?
Elvis has just worked with so many of our favorite artists and has created some of our favorite sounds, musically and, uh, you know, like Mammoth, WVH,
Hmm.
and, Alter Bridge is like one of my favorite bands ever, and the mastermind behind these sounds that we're so obsessed with is Elvis. And so it was just kind of a dream of mine to work with him one day. So whenever we just happened to throw out an email, just like, you know what, let's just see what happens. Let's see if we even get a response. And,
Right.
you know, he actually liked our music and wanted to work with us. And turns out he's like the nicest guy ever. And it turned into this, relationship that we didn't see coming. And yeah, Elvis just like, he has a way of bringing out what his best in the band, I feel like, because not all the albums that he makes sound the same,
Hmm.
but he has a really good way of being like, "Okay, I get what you're doing, and let's, emphasize Paralandra and like
Hmm.
not really try to make us sound like anybody else. But like, I feel like he gets our live sound and gets the concept of our music. And he's been able to bring forth what I feel like is like the most
Right.
true versions of the songs.
So with him being in such big demand, I mean, you just listed off a bunch of the bands that he works with, and he's always working. So how what was the time frame that you guys had to work around? Because obviously, if you're going to use him, you kind of have to go when he's available.
Yeah, we had to plan our time like a year in advance. And we ended up getting to spend, I think it was 6 weeks this last time. It
Oh
was
wow.
only like 3 or 4 weeks for Street Magic.
Okay.
Um, but we had a little bit more time this go around. So that was really nice. And honestly, we used every single bit of it. We were
Okay.
going until the last day. So,
Oh wow.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's like 6 weeks seems like kind of a lot of time, but at the same time, like when you're recording 10 songs and there's like so much to be done on each one, kind of a limited amount of time too.
Right. And how was he as far as giving you guys feedback, and how did you take the feedback? Because obviously, you as the creators of the music, you get it's hard not to probably take something personal, especially if it's like, no, we want to keep it as is, and maybe he has some ideas as to maybe tweak it a little bit or whatever.
For us, we've just been all ears.
Mm,
I massively respect him and his work. So any suggestions, I was like, please let me hear them. Because, some of these songs I've been living with for a decade. Like,
right.
tell me your thoughts, please. I'm like beyond, an outside listening ear. And so getting the opinion of somebody that I respect so much, I was not taking anything personally. I just wanted to hear anything he had to say.
Right.
And the cool part was that all of our songs, I mean, for the most part, stayed the same.
Oh,
And he
okay.
definitely like offered some great tweaks on some songs where they did change quite a bit. There's a
Hmm.
song called Better Days on the
Okay.
album that like the way we used to have it, like the bridge as it is now used to be the chorus.
Oh.
And some like, parts have been flipped around and
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So structurally different. And
Okay.
then other songs, we added guitar solos or, tightened up little riffs with the drums so that it just was really punchy. Um, so a lot of it was like refining, I would say, rather
Hmm.
than like full on songwriting.
So, oh wow. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of this stuff you didn't get completely overhauled.
Right. Yeah. I mean, our songs, I would say all of them stayed 95% true to the way that we wrote them.
Oh wow.
Um, and of course, I don't want to like only give Elvis 5% credit. Jeez. I
Right.
mean, he tightened every single song up in so many different ways, some of them more than others. Um, but yeah, our songs would not be the same without him. That is for sure.
Yeah. And, I want to talk about Dirty Love because, you put out that release that video and, it's fun. It's cool. It totally went, in a different direction that I thought because I was like, okay, well, at what point does the band pop in and there's performance footage? But there's none of that. So tell me a little bit about the concept and all that stuff because it is a pretty cool, it's simple but effective.
Thank you. So I actually came up with the concept
Mm.
while we were in the studio,
Oh wow.
and I was like, okay, what if we like did a literal dirty
Hmm.
love,
Right.
like in a mud pit, and did tug of war? And so I was telling my dad about it, and he was like, "No, I think that's actually great." And so then he suggested, what if we are like versing our counterparts
Uh-huh.
and like we play both sides of the
Right.
rope? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. It's like this epic internal battle of like, who am I going to be? Like, what is my life going to end up?
Right.
And so, like, the very end scene, we're actually in my old high school
Oh, wow.
and with a lot of my friends from high school. So,
Oh.
in one of the classrooms. So, very nostalgic for me. Um, but yeah, so we ended the video with my dad in the window, like kind of
Mhm.
waving at me and like, come on, let's go. And
Right.
then I leave the class. Well, that's because it's a true story.
Oh, oh, so that actually really happened.
Yeah. When I was young, my dad would, well, like first grade,
Mhm.
my dad would walk to school because we lived really close. And he would just like wait outside of my classroom at the very, very end of the day when he was about to pick me up.
Right.
And whenever I would look out the window and I'd see him waving, I was like, oh, it's almost time. School's almost
Yeah.
over. Yes, you know.
Oh,
So
geez.
I just thought it was cool to like bring in, these real life elements to the story and just kind of like, make it fun and ridiculous, which is classic Paralandra. We don't like to take ourselves too
Mhm.
seriously. So
I think the real amusing part was where you had all the, yourselves dressed up as, suit and tie people, and then
yeah.
past I think the the clock was passed and you showed them it was 5 o'clock and they just dropped everything and walked.
Yeah.
I
They're
thought
like,
that was
okay,
funny.
bye.
Yeah, right. Out of curiosity, I mean, you're talking about dad picking you up and stuff. There must have been some great memories of him pulling into the parking lot, blasting some cool tunes, huh?
Absolutely. For a short period of time when I was like 10 to 12 years old, he had a 69 Corvette
Oh,
Stingray
geez.
and it was in bright yellow. And he would like come, rolling up to school and
Right.
picking me up. I definitely felt like the cool kid.
No.
I always had the cool dad in school. I always felt like people liked him more than me, which is
Nice.
probably still true.
So, Dirty Love's for streaming on Amazon, and so's, Look at Me Now and Love of My Life, I think. Those 3 are on
Yes.
there so that, people can check those out before release date. On the 4th, you said. Yeah, because it's
On the
based in Super
4th.
Mario. So we'll make sure we definitely plug that. But, as far as, things go with the band, I mean, you guys have been around for a few years, kind of, been kind of building it at a steady pace. Is that it almost seems like there's probably some advantages of doing it that way rather than, striking, fast and you kind of burn out and then
Yeah.
you're gone. I mean, tell me a little bit about that. Has that been kind of the idea of just kind of steadily building because you guys are really doing it that way?
Well, thank you. It wasn't really the plan to do it that way. Like, honestly, the band in itself wasn't really a plan. It just kind
Mhm.
of happened, like
Right.
one show leads into two shows, leads into 200,
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, like it would have been nice, probably, I guess, to like, strike gold and have
Right.
a song go number one and just be like set for the rest of my life. But it's been really nice taking the grassroots approach. And,
Mhm.
we're independent. So that means that
Right.
we own all of our music, we own all of our ticket sales, all of our merchandise. And we get to do things our way. We get to do things the way we want. And with the grassroots following, I feel like we build so many like deep relationships with these
Mhm.
fans where I feel like we're impacting lives in a very real way. Um,
Right.
and you know, seeing how everything has progressed the way that it has and the fact that we are still peaking,
Mhm.
we still just continue to climb and to grow and to do better and be more successful. Like, I'm glad that we did it this way. I'm glad that everything has worked out the way that it has.
Right. Right.
And I'm excited that, my latest stuff is my most successful stuff. Cause I mean,
Yeah.
I think every artist will say that their latest work is their best,
Sure.
but
Right, right.
um, yeah, it's great to see the way that it's been going, and it's really rewarding because, if it was something where, I did get, super famous and rich off,
Mhm.
one thing in the very beginning and then die out, then, it's like, well, do you try and do that again or do you start all over and
Right.
like the so
Yeah. I mean, I would think that probably if you did, have a hit song, and it, you gets picked up and there's a certain amount of success there that then maybe it's like, okay, at what point do you go, well, we kind of peaked and then, then you're always trying to chase that where if you're
yeah,
consistently building
exactly.
it, you're kind of like, wow, this is awesome. It's like it's always a surprise, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We are very grateful for, every single like cool show that we get and the fact that we've had the opportunity to record with Elvis Baskette, who is like
Mhm.
our hero twice now,
No
is
kidding.
just mind blowing.
Right. Right. And I'm sure you're probably has that been a pinch me moment? Because that's what one of the things I was gonna ask you about. What is the biggest pinch me moment to date for yourself?
Oh my gosh. Okay. It would be, and this is like brand new news,
Mhm.
but I just recorded an album with George Lynch. And
Oh, wow.
literally, like, I just finished recording it a month ago.
Okay.
And it all happened because, as some people know, Jaron Galino is my
Mhm.
boyfriend and he plays bass for Lynch
Right.
Mob.
Yeah.
And so I was just like at a show in Florida with them last October, and they invited me to come up and sing Street Fighting Man, which I had done one other time back in 2019. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, you know what? I'll do it. It sounds awesome.
Right.
And so
Wow.
I went ahead and did that. And after the show, I was George's driver. I was taking him back to the hotel, and he was just like going on and on, like, that was amazing. Oh
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh. Like your voice and the
Yeah.
energy was just completely different when you were on stage. And anyway, so I was like, well, hey, man, next time let's do some Dirty Shirley. And he was like,
Oh, no
you know
kidding.
Dirty Shirley? I'm like,
Right.
yes. What do you? Yeah, of course. And Dino's like my favorite singer right now. And
Right.
um, so he was like, well, I'm actually going into the studio next week to record the next Dirty Shirley album, and Dino's not going to be singing on it. And we're
Oh,
looking for a
wow.
singer. So you should do it. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
okay.
So
So
you're on the entire next record.
yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
literally 2 weeks later, I had an entire album, from George that
Mhm.
was just guitar tracks,
Mm.
and it had, like, a drum loop behind it, no bass, like,
Mhm.
maybe a little rough keyboard or something, and then I got to write all of the lyrics and all of the melodies, and, it truly is, like, a 50-50 collaboration, and I couldn't be more proud of it, but it's, like, definitely one of those pinch me moments because
Wow.
my dad, was like a huge George Lynch fan
Mhm.
and always has been. And it's just nuts. I
Yeah.
don't understand life.
Wow. That is a pin. Did you get to play any guitar on that?
I did not,
Ah,
which is fine. I think George really took care of that
okay.
aspect of the album.
Nice. Wow.
But
So that's something to look forward to then, I guess.
yeah,
So any
absolutely.
any timetable on that? I'm guessing, probably
It'll be this year. We
okay,
don't
good.
have a timetable set in stone yet, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure,
Cool.
but
Well, that's awesome. And he is threatening to retire Lynch Mob, so, well, you know.
yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah, I know. It may not happen. So that's a pinch me moment. But what about, a great piece of advice that you've received, about the business, and who did it come from?
About the business. Honestly, like, Jaron, my boyfriend, has given me a lot of really great advice. He's definitely like, I would say, he's an incredible bass player, but the
Mhm.
guy is a businessman and
Mm.
he is constantly working behind the scenes. And what he has always told me is just like, be yourself and be nice to people. Like those two
Mhm.
things will get you farther than you realize. And
Right.
that really is true. Like just be a good person, be
Mhm.
kind, be helpful, and be 100% who you are. Don't like try to be a version of yourself that
Right.
people are telling you you should be.
Pretty
So,
s pretty simple stuff, but I mean, I get pretty effective too.
it's very effective. I mean, the whole business is relationships. So, value people's time, their relationships, and treat people well.
Mhm. Just real quick, getting back to the record. On the new record, what do you feel is your standout performance on that?
Ooh, um, that's a good question. My standout
Yeah,
performance.
that you go, "Wow, if people were to just listen to this one tune on this record, this is the one to listen to."
Mm, it's so hard. Well, I'll say, dang it, there's so many good ones. You just have to listen to the whole album. No,
Okay, fair yeah, I'm sure that people will,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. There's like 10 songs and I'm like thinking
Mhm,
through each of them and thinking about their glory parts.
mhm. Yeah, right.
There is a song called Savannah on there that is an epic, and I'm very proud of it in
Mm,
a lot of ways, vocally especially as well.
right,
So,
right.
yeah, I'll say that one.
Okay, we'll go with that. And what about somebody that surprised you? Like I know you guys have had some huge supporting roles throughout, your guys' career, but somebody that you might have had some anxiety or might have heard stuff and go, "Oh, I don't know if I want to approach them or whatever," and turned out to be a really surprising experience.
Well, touring with Yngwie Malmsteen was
I
very
was thinking
surprising.
about that.
It was surprising on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say, we had a tour with him in 2019 where we played, I think, about 40 dates within like 2 months. I
Hmm.
mean, it was crazy. And at the very end, we were finally allowed to meet him,
Mm,
very last show. And so we went in with the VIPs at the very end. And I was very nervous, very anxious,
right,
like went on this whole tour with him without, talking to
right.
him. And he was really kind.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You guys are great. Thank you so much for joining us. And you've got a great voice." And he was really complimentary. And I was like,
Nice.
"Is this
Yeah.
Ing?
Right.
Like, this
Right.
is the Ingve people." Like,
Right.
anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
the guy's obviously got a lot of stories, but that
Sure.
was definitely a shocking moment.
Nice. Awesome. So I just got a couple more things and I'll cut you loose, man. Body Electric on the 4th. So we got that. It'll be on the 4th and we'll make sure we run this so it runs in accordance to the release date. So
Yes.
last thing I have for you though. What's a good Spinal Tap moment? Because this is going to be for We Go to 11, which does have a Spinal Taps, kind of
Dude,
reference
I
to
have
it.
the
But
Final Tap moment for you because
okay.
literally on that Ingve tour, on
Oh,
the last night, what I was just talking about,
yeah.
we were playing at this theater and they had a Stonehenge replica backstage,
Oh, no
like
kidding.
the tiny one.
Okay. Oh my god.
Oh, we had Brian Wilson, who was Ingve's drummer at the
Mm,
time. He had like this long, curly black hair that was like waist length. And so
mm.
he like put it down, parted it in the middle, and he brought out Stonehenge during our set while we were covering She's So Heavy by the Beatles.
Oh, jeez.
And so we were like stomping around the Stonehenge and like, anyway, it was
Nice.
hilarious.
Well, there you
But
go.
we've
Who
also
Yeah, I mean,
we've
who
had our
could
fair
beat that?
share of what?
I
Sorry.
said, "Who could beat that one?" Right? I mean,
Dude,
that's awesome.
it's literally Spinal Tap moment. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's
Uh,
on the nose.
nice.
But of course, I was gonna say we've had our fair share of like getting lost backstage
Oh,
and
sure.
like just the ridiculous things
Right.
that happen on the road that no one can even come up with. You can't write this stuff.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
yeah, things happen.
Well, Cassandra, thank you for your time. We'll plug the record, plug the band. Hope to see you out in the Pacific Northwest at some point here in the near future. I'm sure that's probably going to happen in either
Yeah.
in a headlining type deal or in a supporting role. But either way, we look forward to seeing you.
Well,
Last
I'm
thing. Oh,
excited.
go ahead.
I was gonna say we've got one show in Grand Ronde, Oregon with
Okay.
Lita Ford and Vixen in August coming up.
Okay.
So we're
Southern
gonna try to get
Oregon.
some shows
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah. No
So
kidding.
yeah,
That would be
hopefully.
awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. We'll get this online and send you guys links and hopefully you share it and hopefully we catch you somewhere in the Pacific Northwest here in the near future.
Yeah, hope to be coming your way soon.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you so much. Take care, huh?
All right, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.